Welcome back to Wisdom with the Wise Counselor. I'm your host, the Wise Counselor, also known by my birth name, simply Lateef. And this is a special episode. I'm doing something a little different. I'm introducing a new segment where I break away from the usual pace of the podcast and explore some current events. Not just news, but those powerful, uplifting stories that often get buried beneath the noise of regular news. These are the moments that will inspire us. They empower us, and they remind us that there is still so much good things happening in our local communities, across the nation, and across the world. Let's be real. Our mental health is deeply impacted by what we consume. Social media posts, stories, news, TV shows, online ads. Everything that we take in influences how we see ourselves, how we interpret our circumstances, and how we connect to our inner truth. The content that we engage with either plant seeds of peace and purpose, or they water the anxiety and the negativity. And when we allow that to happen, it takes root in our minds and in our hearts. And then that spreads to our perceptions and our willingness to help others and our hands that want to do the work. And then we start feeling depressed and questioning everything. And then it trickles into our relationships. Listen, I'm telling you, guard your heart by what you choose to consume. And that is exactly why this new segment is being birthed today. I want to take time to highlight the good, to intentionally call out stories that celebrate resiliency, joy, kindness, and purpose. These moments whisper to our spirits that hope is real, that light still shines, and that we are not alone. They remind us that purpose is alive and it is well, and that there are real reasons to keep pressing forward, not only for yourself, but also for others. Each story that I share will not only inform you, but it will also invite you to reflect on things like, why does this story really matter? How does this story help us heal? How does this story help us grow in our hope? How do we relate this energy of this positivity in the story and embrace that to uplift ourselves, connect that back to our mental health, and teach us how do we use this story to show us how to show up as our fullest selves. So I want you to stay tuned in. I want you to lean in, and I want you to get ready to celebrate the beauty of what's right in the world. Yes, the news is rooted in negativity and in making us scared as consumers, but I do want to make sure that you know there are glimmers of hope in the news, and that's what we're grabbing a hold on to in this segment of Wisdom with the Wise Counselor podcast. So here we are. Let's dive on in with our first story. I'm going to call it Scoopable Ice Cream, where inclusion is the main ingredient. I love starting off with a sweet story, no point intended, but there is a new ice cream shop that is called Scoopable Ice Cream, and it's doing more than just serving cones. It's serving community. This shop was founded with the mission to employ individuals with disabilities, giving them real opportunities to work, grow, and be celebrated in a space built on inclusion and love. How can you not love that? Too often, people with disabilities are overlooked when it comes to employment, but this business is flipping that script. It's not just about an ice cream shop. Baby, this story reinforced to me that this is a movement. It's a reminder that we can create space for everyone and we all can rise. Let's relate that back to your mental health. When we're talking about purpose, there becomes a time when you get to that pinnacle, to that top summit, when you realize life and purpose is really not about you. It's about contributing to others, using your talents, your gifts, and the work of your hands to help other people build their talents, their gift, and help encourage them as they use their hands to walk out their purpose. It is a win-win, full cycle kind of victory when we use ourselves to help other people. Relating that back to mental health, Think about how good you feel when you help others. It's plain and simple. How do you feel when you're giving somebody a gift? You generally feel pretty good. How do you feel when somebody says thank you, or you see your talent that you poured into somebody being poured out into other people? You can sit back and say, oh my goodness, that was me that taught them that. And now they're using that to impact people, places, and things that are connected to them. That's how you know when you've reached the pinnacle of your purpose, when you can actually see your work, the seeds that you've planted and invested, living out in your face. That's how you know purpose is being achieved and that you are walking in destiny and your purpose. All right, second story. Let's just call it the Burger King graduate. Grace in the grind. This next one, it really got me. And I'm going to tell you right up front, I got teary-eyed when I saw this one. This was on a national news story. I believe the young man was from somewhere in Georgia. And it was highlighting the fact that he just had graduated. Literally, he was at graduation and he must have gotten a call from his employer saying, hey, can you come into work? We are short-staffed. So right after graduation, he went to work. He didn't go to an after graduation celebration or stick around and celebrate with his classmates. With his cap and gown still on, he went straight to Burger King to work. And one of his peers' mothers later that evening spotted him at work in his full graduation regalia still. And that moment found its way to social media. This mother took a picture of him and went to go question him, like, what are you doing? And that is how this story came to the light. She literally posted that, just shouting out his hard work ethic and congratulating him for graduating. This was a stranger. And later on, we came to find out the news a day or so later came back and his mother was on the news. And his mother explained that while he had dreams to go to college, he didn't have a solid plan to pay for his trade school. So he was working because he needed to make his next steps plain and simple. Well, that post that this random stranger, this mom posted about this young man working in his graduation attire reached the world. Somebody started a GoFundMe account, and when I looked at this story a few days ago, it was only at $40,000. The goal was $60,000. I'm telling you, right before I started recording this podcast, the goal on the FundMe account was only 60. They were at $80,000 nearly overnight. When they interviewed him, he said something along the lines like, I've never been the recipient of anything like this. I just want to do what I had to do. And that right there is at the heart of it. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is show up with quiet dedication, even when nobody is clapping. I mean, think about the momentum or the milestone that he kind of overlooked. He didn't even stick around to celebrate his own graduation. His work ethic and his need to survive pushed him to go to work. And I don't know about you, but that is absolutely commendable. Check that story out. He was again from someplace in Georgia, and I hope that GoFundMe continues to grow, because when I was listening to him and his mom and the interview, I could tell he had a heart of gold, and the brother just needed a little bit of help. And guess what? The world has showed up, and I hope that they continue to show out. My goodness. All right. The third story that we're going to talk about, let's call it Spelling Bee Champion, trusting the process. I don't know if you watched the news, but the Scripps National Spelling Bee just ended, and there was a 13-year-old who won, who was competed last year. He was from Texas. He came into second place. This young man shared in his post-winning interviews that he started competing at age 7. He came in second place last year, and he was really upset last year, and he could have walked away, but instead he leaned in. And in his interview, he talked about the fact that he knew that his process that he had to prep, he was confident with it. He just had to wait another year and continue to do what he felt comfortable doing in order to win. He simply trusted his process. He practiced a little harder, and he waited his turn. And 365 days later, look at him. He is a national winning spelling bee champion. And I want to relate that back to mental health here. It's two gems that I take away from his story. This little boy, only 13 years old, was whispering nuggets of wisdom. And I don't even know that he knew he was doing that. But what I caught from him was, I trust my process. Woo! And that made me think about this. Work your process. If what you are doing is good, stay the course. I have to remind you that all things good come to those who wait. Sometimes we don't understand the universe's timing. And just because what you're doing is good doesn't mean it's the right timing. And so by default, that means it's a bad thing. Let me say that again. Good things done at the wrong times always are a bad thing. Why? Because the universe has a rhythm that it needs you to feel comfortable and seated in. So you've got to work your process. And even if things are not working out in the timing that you envision, you have to stay the course. That was the first gem of that story. And number two was get comfortable waiting. I know you've heard this before. Delay does not mean denial. Sometimes you just need you need to let time catch up to the breakthrough. Did you hear me? Sometimes you just need to let time catch up to the breakthrough. And that part of the story really just kind of took me out. Oh, and then another part of it that really was really powerful was he won $50,000. Guess what he said he was going to do? He said he was going to donate the money to charity. A 13-year-old. Now that is thinking about legacy, and that is true purpose in action. Relating that all back to mental health, work your process. Do not be moved by what you see or what other people tell you. Stay the course. And then number two, while you are trying to heal, while you are trying to grow, while you are trying to get better, remember those are all processes. And a part of the process is to get comfortable waiting. What you need for you is coming. I guarantee. Work your process and get comfortable waiting. And then the last story that I wanted to shed a little bit of light on, let's just call it a new song later in life, music outreach for seniors. Now, this story, it just made my heart smile. A local community band recently launched a summer outreach program, but not for kids. This time, they are focused on teaching elderly adults how to play instruments of their choice and teaching them a little bit about music theory. Can we just pause and celebrate that? I mean, people who are intentionally thinking about geriatric people and veterans and older seasoned saints, if you will, they are a population that is growing in numbers. And unfortunately, I don't know that there's a lot of support in place and recreational things in place. They're far out. The numbers are far outgrowing the programs. So we've got to do better at thinking about people who are older. Putting people into homes is one thing, but giving them a life to continue to live and breathe so that they can have hope and stay here as long as they can. If they're chasing purpose or discovering new things, that helps them live a longer life. When we start talking about mental health, it's all about life satisfaction. And so I celebrate this community band who is intentionally thinking about trying to help elderly people. They're bringing those seniors to their centers. They're hosting free workshops, and they're creating joyful moments of discovery for folks who may have dreamed about playing music or learning music, but they just maybe never had the chance. And so the other piece to this story that was so beautiful, the local music store heard about this, and don't you know, they said, we're going to step up and celebrate what you're doing. We are going to provide free of charge instruments to any senior citizen who needs an instrument. I mean, come on. Not only did that's like goals on top of goals, purpose on top of purpose, energy on top of energy. The fact that this third party music group heard about this, or company heard about this and said, we want to be a part of this. This is important to us. Music at any age is important. And they put their money where their mouth is, or put the reed where their mouth is, no point intended. That just speaks volumes. And I love that. So this, connecting it back to mental health, It's proof. This story is proof that it is never too late to learn something new or to find your new rhythm. And that's also another thing I want to say. I thought this story really reinforced the fact of no matter what age we are, we have to be intentional about thinking about our rhythm. And what do we need to get comfortable disrupting? Sometimes introducing new talents or skills or hobbies into our daily lives, especially in moments where we're starting to question our purpose and getting down on ourselves, or we're facing life transitions. Introducing something new that is artistic is absolutely a way to heal and to get grounded, and it's therapeutic. So think about that. How are you using the arts to continue to help you grow, learn, and get better, or get resettled? So those are my 4 stories. These stories remind us that, number 1, inclusion is powerful. Everybody matters. We have to figure out ways to celebrate and support everybody. Number 2, quiet work can lead to massive blessings. Think about that young man who was flipping burgers in his graduation gear. He wasn't looking for attention. He wasn't looking for a handout. The brother was sitting behind a grill in graduation gear making his money, and look at where he's at now. $80,000 plus of free money that people wanted to give him and bless him with to help him with his next steps in life. What an amazing story. The last couple of reflections. Consistency pays off. The story of the Scripps spelling bee winner. Man, he had been working since he was 7. He came in short last year in 2nd place. He stuck to his process, did what he needed to do, came back and won the whole thing. Consistency pays off. And the final reflection, it is never too late to start something new. Although you may not think you have the energy or the resources, if it's something in your heart that tells you to do it, I want to remind you, anything is possible when you put grit and grind and intention behind everything that you want to do. If you want to do it, there's ways to make it happen. And I love that story about the seniors being positioned to be able to learn more musically and to learn musical instruments irregardless of what their age is. So let this episode be encouragement for you today. You are in control of your thoughts, your actions, and your reactions. You may not be able to control what life throws your way, but you can decide how you will respond. That is your power. That is your authority, and that is your gift. So family, I hope that you stay grounded, you stay open, and you stay inspired, and always look for the good. This has been Wisdom with the Wise Counselor podcast. I'm the Wise Counselor, and I want to personally thank you for hanging in here with me and going along this podcast journey with me as we continue to figure it all out. I want to remind you to lead with your heart, honor your purpose, and never stop believing in what is possible. What you see, you can have, as long as you have a plan and you're willing to work for it. It's the Wise Counselor signing out here. Know that I love you, I appreciate you, and I believe in you. Be well.